Hello everybody, welcome to Ageless Rock channel. In this video, we are going to visit a very underrated archaeological site in Turkey. This monument is the pride of Niğde city. It is well known in the district of Niğde, in the province of Niğde. But I don't think it gained much attention from tourism at the national level. The colossal undertaking of this site should make this site world famous a long time ago, but it is only recently that it is gaining momentum. Niğde province of Anatolia region has a human history going as far back as Paleolithic timeline. The Hadeans, Romans, Hellenes and many more ancient civilizations came and gone, but yet we don't know with concrete evidence how a monument such as Gumusler Monastery came into being. The tufaceous surface of Niğde province has made it very porous. From Neolithic to Chalcolithic age, humans have reshaped the bedrock in a small way. But the Cappadocia region is so extremely well carved that it defies logic as to why humans would even do that with ancient chisels. Gumusler Monastery is the largest monastery in Cappadocia region, believed to be carved out of bedrock in the Byzantine era between 8th and 12th century AD. When the Republic of Turkey was established, the Greek returned to Greece and was abandoned for 40 years, only to be rediscovered in 1962 by Michael Gouge, a British archaeologist. The ancient western name for this town is Tracheus. This top-down rock-cut church is said to be the product of European Christians, but it was also forgotten by the Europeans and rediscovered by Europeans. In 1962, David Winfield, Michael and Mary Gouge visited Eski Gumuz, which means old silver, due to its silver mining activities. They came to know about this site after reading a publication by Ahmet Akif Tuteng. Cleaning at this site began and the amazing rock-cut church began to reveal itself. The interior painting of New Testament stories is believed to be 11th or 12th century AD. By 1965, this site was properly cleaned and restored. The paintings on the walls were properly cleaned and they concluded that there were 2 or 3 different artists. But an interesting discovery is that there is a painting from Aesop's fables. This is a common anomaly in ancient Greek art where Aesop is religiously reminded in Christianity. This is an immense project for anyone living in the 8th century AD. The main feature of this monastery is the courtyard measuring 11 meters tall, 14 meters wide and 15 meters long. That is 2,310 cubic meters of bedrock removed. As if that is not enough, they went on to carve into the bedrock from the sides to make the place more useful. But if the Christians were to carve this from scratch, then I believe every inch is useful and can be explained. There are 11 rock-cut churches at Lalibela in Ethiopia said to have been completed in only 24 years. The most famous of all is St. George Church. It is a top-down rock-cut church with all the signs of a megalithic culture architecture, but to the mainstream, this is a 12th century AD construction. In India, we have the largest monolithic top-down rock-cut structure in the world. This Hindu temple is said to have been constructed in the 8th century AD. Despite the unimaginable task, we actually don't have any solid evidence it was done by any Indian dynasty due to its lack of inscription. The official narrative is largely provided by Western archaeologists. In Indonesia, there is also a monolithic top-down rock-cut monument you can visit at Gunung Kawi in Bali Island. It is not related to any religion that we know of due to lack of inscriptions, but the Balinese Hindu locals are deeply spiritual about it. Devotees are Hindus but deeply rooted and intertwined in their animistic origin. It is loosely believed to be constructed in the 11th century AD based on one inscription. In Afghanistan, there is a monument called Takhte Rustam. It is a top-down, rock-hewn Buddhist monastery believed to be the work of Buddhists in the 3rd or 4th century AD. Is it possible that ancient Buddhists were motivated to carve a monastery out of bedrock when building one on top is 1,000 times easier? In Gumusler Monastery, I find that it is extremely odd to have so many random holes in the courtyard. There are round holes, rectangular holes, and the long and shallow holes are said to be tombs. This is the typical characteristic of a megalithic culture rather than human nature. The courtyard looks like a messy work of random hole digging. All these top-down constructions straight out of bedrock have one thing in common. There is a monolithic structure in the middle. So I would assume that there was once a monolithic structure in the middle for Gumusler Monastery as well. If you can count the people who live on this view of the planet, it will be about half the planet's population. But yet no one can say for sure who created any of these in recent memory. These are monuments no civilization can forget. It would have required 100,000 chisels to make, but yet I don't see museums overflowing with ancient chisels for these sites. Something is wrong with our historical timeline. To me, this is a courtyard riddled with holes that make no sense. According to mainstream, the rectangular holes are graves. Anything rectangular on the ground are basically graves to archaeologists. But they are very narrow and shallow. Even if there are human remains found, it doesn't mean that the ancient Christians of this village carved these for burials. Just like those at necropolis of Moreira de Rei in Transcoso city of Portugal has some skeletal remains, while those at Lancashire of England has no dead body but still called stone graves of Hashem. They are clearly of the same megalithic culture, and we have no clue what they are for. From the top view, we can see that there are several rounded rectangular holes with bevel design. There are also holes that go pretty deep. That is why they are covered with iron grills for safety. The center has stones forming a square as if there was a monolithic structure prior to its removal. None of these makes sense as far as Christianity is concerned. Another obviously puzzling toolmark is the row of rounded rectangular holes that look like squarish holes while some look like rounded holes. Did ancient Christians of Turkey actually carve this? What would they be thinking when they make these holes? Is that even our human way of shaping bedrock? These strange tool marks are trademarks of the unknown ancient builders, as you can see at House of Mariam at Lalibela in Ethiopia. They make a hole into the bedrock and then left a row of square-looking holes so that in the future, people with megalithic lands can wander and be confused at the same time. At the western wall of Jerusalem, there is a 12.5 meters or 41 feet long block of stone. No one knows for sure the depths of this stone, but it is said to be about 500 tons. This megalithic block under the western wall is probably the clue to a religion given by the unknown ancient builders. The 3 rows of rectangular holes are definite clues that mainstream religions are intertwined with megalithic culture. In China, there are plenty of megalithic sites with giant Buddhas. We praise the ancient Chinese profusely without asking why they left behind tool marks that cannot be explained by common sense. At Elephant Mountain Grottos at Tian Shui, there are 3 rows of squarish holes that tells me someone else was here first and they most likely gave us religion. Just to remind everyone that these tool marks are not limited to walls, ceiling or floors. They are also found in columns and pillars and small areas that make no sense. This block of stone at Baphuan Temple at Siem Reap in Cambodia seems to tell me that there was a very different civilization capable of very different masonry skills. If you snoop around Gumusler looking for trouble, you will notice a lot more rows of rectangular holes I loosely call gear track marks, and the entire area is very well carved out like it was made of clay. Antediluvian theorists might find that the entire Cappadocia region as a living proof of an event that the bedrock was soft and water flowed like waterfalls as ice melted during the Ice Age helped to carve and shape the tunnel system. Based on tool marks alone, we can safely bet that those responsible for these magnificent structures with no real histories are of the same civilization. What are the odds that as soon as ancient soft chisels were invented, devotees got inspired to hew bedrock and perfected the skill of carving perfect statues, and then mysteriously abandoned them just before the Europeans arrived? When Europeans arrived, the locals already lost this awesome masonry civilization and had no clue what happened. Then, slowly but surely, it was the Europeans who told the locals what happened. Another feature of the technology used are the stairs that look like it was done when it was soft like clay. Stairs that slope down in the middle generally look like it was a high traffic area. But this is definitely not due to too many Christians walking up and down in the past. These steps are about 6 inches wide in the middle, just nice for 1 foot at a time, and it looks like it was intentionally created in such a way. What a strange idea that steps for easy access going up and down is actually harder to use because we now have to tiptoe carefully 1 foot forward at a time. If you think that was due to high traffic, then how about this stairway? What kind of Christians would carve such design for stairs where additional effort is made to make sure only half your foot can touch the stairs? What kind of function could it be for in the past? There are many rooms and niches that we are still trying to establish what they are for. This room would have been a vihara if it is in India. But in Turkey, during the Byzantine era, the Christians can hardly make use of this unit. The floor is uneven, the niches are useless, the middle groove has no purpose, but yet we can conclude that Christians carved this so that they can meet up. I am inclined to believe that early Christians came along and recycled them into something useful based on what they already believe in. Paintings can be found in abundance. This painting is said to show a sympathetic understanding of Jesus. In this painting, Mary is seen holding baby Jesus. Behind Mary is Joseph with 2 doves. Behind Joseph is Anna, who holds her right hand over her heart. In front of Mary is Simeon, depicted as respectful and radiant. Between Mary and Simeon is an altar covered with cloth. This painting on the right depicts Virgin Mary with baby Jesus on her lap. Strangely, the archangels are depicted as women. All 3 have yellow halo while Jesus has a red halo. Both angels, Gabriel and Michael, accompanied Jesus. The repair on the faces of Virgin Mary and baby Jesus was rough and shows they suffered extensive damage before the church was abandoned. Despite the wonderful painting left behind, my eyes are actually glued to the recessed doorway that looked like a typical megalithic culture design of a portal. The comparison on the left can be found at Ellora Cave in India. Is it a coincidence that the 3-level recessed door was a common feature ancient people like to do to bedrock when they turn it into a religious site? There are many arch ceilings with Christian themes, But there is also a weird sense of creepy feeling of dark and solemn atmosphere. This place looks like partially complete and it's hard for me to imagine how ancient Christians used this place. There are no windows and therefore constantly dark or very dark. The floors seem uneven and hard to imagine what a sitting congregation on Sunday looks like. This site is not only carved down to have a rectangular cavity but also carved inside from the side. It has many paintings inside, and because of one Aesop's fable painting, some argued that it was possibly a private chapel of a nobleman. I tend to see this entire site as a pre-existing site left behind by the unknown ancient builders, and human civilization came along with modifications and paintings. Today, we throw coins and dollar bills into tunnels, hoping for blessings of good health and fortune. 1,000 years later, when this place is rediscovered for the second time, archaeologists might say that these are Sunday worship offerings collected once a week. Well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this short presentation on Gumusler Monastery, where the top-down rock-cut church is still very much a mystery to me. See you in the next video and have a wonderful day. This is Berniong signing out. Sonra Guru Surus Gule Gule.